Yes, hello everyone. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be back with
Oops.
the out of the box developer, and I hope that there will be a lot of guests, a lot of audience tonight with us. But first of all, I would like to introduce you to our guest today. So, Luis, hello, Luis. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine, and you?
I am fine too.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm happy to be here with you. And today we are having a special guest.
yes.
Hello,
Just
hello.
Today
so,
we are bringing Julio to talk with us.
yes,
So
Thanks
Julio,
for having me.
we
a
appreciate
pleasure.
you're here with us. So
Yes,
Julio is a software engineering at Red Hat, and I have here
Yeah,
a Red Hat. Yeah.
yay! I have one too. It's right over there.
A- and he
That's
also talk
nice.
a lot about interviews. He mentorship people. He is a mentor, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he
I've
has
been
a lot of
doing. I've been helping
experience.
people. Yeah,
Yeah,
mhm,
also with AWS, right?
exactly.
OpenShift.
Before Red Hat, I worked at Amazon for 7 years. So yeah,
Yeah, and we had a great conversation about DevRel, right?
yeah,
After TDC São Paulo, it
mhm,
yeah.
was really
Totally.
nice to talk with you.
Yeah, it's a fantastic career opportunity. I did it for those years, and I love it. I still do it, although on the sides.
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, I'm doing the same.
And yeah,
Yes.
so and in this transition, when I left Amazon and well, before I joined Red Hat, I decided that as I was going through the process again, to do it very thoroughly, take lots of opportunities, take lots of notes, try to help people going through the same. Learned a lot. And even at Amazon, I was part of the team that interviewed people. And like everybody is at Amazon, but I actually like to do it. So I did a lot of interviews.
Mhm,
And yeah, and I've been working on with that since the early 2000s. Since I started working, I've been helping people work as well. So
Yeah.
that's something I
mhm.
got a lot of experience in.
So
Oh, that's
today's subject
great.
is winning your developer job interview. So you are the right person to talk about that with us.
I hope so, yes. And it's certainly a huge win. And we know many cases of people who got a better life for themselves, for their family, for their city, for their countries, for jobs in technology. So I think that's a brilliant option. And it's
Mhm,
great to help people with that. It's truly rewarding.
mhm,
Yeah. And however, it's hard, like education and mentoring in today's times with so much content, so much AI. It's going through so many changes that it's not something that you learn and you can say that it's done. It's something that every day things are changing, new processes, new tools, new companies. And yeah,
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
where should we start?
yes, before we are jumping into the middle of the topic, I would like to introduce another member of our uh, group, Pedro.
Hey, Pedro.
Good evening, Pedro. How are you doing?
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I don't know which one is it for you,
Yes.
but yeah, I'm good here. So,
It's me,
sorry I'm
10
late.
p.m. here.
Mhm.
Oh my, sorry I'm late, but yeah, I would never let this pass because this topic is very very important. So I would love
Mhm.
to discuss here and ask. I have some questions to ask actually. So.
Yes. Okay, just go ahead with your questions. When did you have your last interview? If it's not a secret question. I have just heard that people should do interviews regularly to practice the interview process. What do you think about it?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think it is a good idea, but you have to be honest about it. You can't waste people's time. So
Mhm.
it's not nice to go and apply and raise expectations and then say, hey, I was just practicing. So
Mhm.
what I recommend people to do is set the bar really high, like as high as you can imagine. So what would be like a dream job for you, and what would be good enough to make you change even if you're comfortable in your position, and go with that. Be honest, say, hey, I already have a job, I already have an opportunity, I'm only here if things are exceptionally good.
Mhm.
And then you have a honest and
Yes.
possibly favorable result. And yeah, and another thing is to make sure you learn from the process. I think a lot of people go process after process without caring of improving themselves, and I think that's a very important part of the perspective. Like, no matter your seniority level or the opportunities that you face, like, everybody thinks they're not ready, that they're not done, that this will be perhaps too hard. But if you go and with a positive mindset, like it's a positive learning experience going through the process, and even if you're rejected, if you learn a little bit what you did wrong, what you should study better, can you be more calm or express yourself in better ways, practice your stories, and do it better next time. It's just a matter of time until you make it, because it's iterative, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one follow-up question about that is I we have a friend here, Silvio, and Silvio, he is a contractor, and he always says that we can have like we must have one interview every 2 months, so we don't
Well,
lose our practice. Yeah, but I think
yeah,
of course, his case is a different case because as a contractor,
of course.
every at least 1 year or two,
Mhm.
you are changing contracts. But he said something interesting. I don't know what your opinion about it. Is that interviewing in US, in his case, it's US, is different than interviewing in Brazil because
Totally.
in the US you are like there is a huge number of companies, so it's unlikely you be interviewed by the same company like more one or two times mostly
Mhm.
if any, you know. And in Brazil, no, in Brazil we have a small number of companies, and maybe it's not a good idea to do that. So what do
Yeah.
you think of it?
Mhm.
Well, I had candidates at Amazon that were applying like for the fourth time, for the fifth time. I think I got a sixth time or once, and it's not even a big problem. Like, it's a balance, because of course the person was rejected, so it's kind of, there is a reason. But if the person improved and fixed, and well, people are willing to try, because usually they need to fill the spot. And also, the you don't need to change companies to take new interviews. You can apply for other jobs within the same company, and that's perhaps a safer idea for some people. And yeah, I just think you have to be really considerate of other people's times and expectations, and so you're not like, unless you're really wanting to hack the system and do this kind of thing, but that's not what I think it's right. So I think it's a great way to practice, and it's important to improve. But yeah, take it easy, be respectful to other people's times and expectations.
Just one quick comment for our audience. If you have got any questions, please feel free to ask us. We have got Julio as an expert, and we would like to answer your questions. So just go ahead.
Yeah, please do. I do have a lot of content in this area, but the best conversations we have are around your opportunities, your challenges, what you're going through right now. Perhaps there's something we can help, uh, be it regarding the process, regarding the techniques, regarding the tech stuff. Feel free to shoot at us. We all have long experience in the field, and it would be great to chat with you all in the
You
other
mentioned,
side of the interwebs.
Julio, you mentioned practicing. Can you tell us more about how you recommend practicing for interviews? Because interviews
Yeah,
have got a lot of rounds, several parts of the interview process, and
totally,
that requires different practicing approach. So, what is your
totally.
advice?
My first advice is the one I said, like take it as a positive learning experience. Like don't go adding 5 interviews at the same time in your calendar because and rushing through them because you won't be able to present your best or learn from it. So take one or two at a time, learn from them, get yourself better, take it as a positive experience. And I know it's not easy to manage anxiety with the process, especially if you're leaving, if you need to be hired fast, if you're going through a difficult situation, as some people are, then start with that. Like start making it positive. One thing that helps a lot is finding a friend, a colleague, a family member, something from your close friends, or hire a mentor, hire a teacher, help, seek some help, and don't do it alone because it's so much easier and better when you have someone to share the experience, to talk about your issues, to practice a simulated interview or something like that. So that's, and finally, the practice itself. Like I see a lot of people just going through the process and not practicing to get better. So that's a bit inefficient. If you practice, and I don't mean only programming, like there you need to practice communication, uh, telling your stories in English, for example, pre-writing them, making them interesting and relevant is as important as getting the algorithms right or understanding about system security or whatever is that you're looking for in the tech side of things. So make sure you practice the not only the entire scope. Of course, you have to do like leg day and arms day, but if you need more one thing than the other, then you can balance. But what we recommend in our group is to divide it in 4 areas and work one of each in each, focus on one of each per week. So you're always practicing everything at the same time, but give a focus. On the first week, I'm going to do this, on the second, this, on the third, this. So you have a shift of focus and you go back and deepening each time you go through the areas. In our case, we do the first week health and balance. So anxiety, time management, and techniques, sleep is very important, meditation, even whatever you call whatever is health and balance for you. Then we go to algorithms and programming, like whiteboard interview, coding challenges, things like that. Then we talk about communication and behavior, demonstrating performance, writing reports, uh, negotiating an offer, and things like that. And finally, architecture and design. So security, reliability, performance, whatever is related to systems requirements, but not necessarily programming and algorithms. And if you every week practice a little bit of each of those areas, and there in our program we had like dozens of people, everybody successful with the same idea, the same methodology that I'm sharing with you right now. And that's result from a lot of study, a lot of experience. And for each of those areas, there are tools and techniques and practices, but that's the overall idea.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Raphael asked a question in the chat, but I think Raphael, you should you can ask your questions in the chat because
Yeah,
I
like
can see
Raphael asked if he can do the interview
yeah.
without a camera.
Uh-huh.
Well, for some companies you can, but it's not generally advisable because the interviewers usually don't likely, especially during the phone screening part of the process. So during the coding, if it's whiteboard coding, for example, that you're just going to be speaking and coding and your colleague couldn't care less about your face or where you're seated or if your room is a mess, no problem. But if you're talking to a human resources, a hiring manager, and they want to know your stories, or if your values match the company values, it's going to be probably a shorter conversation, but a lot focused on your stories, and the person is going to probably want to see you. Yeah. So,
Mm-hmm.
of course, that changes, and you can always ask, but it's highly recommendable to turn on the camera, especially in these first interviews. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Funny on the cameras thing is always debate. People love this debate, like, and especially during stand-ups and dailies and this the normal meetings. But when we just
Yeah.
think about a normal meeting, is because you are talking about a team or a group of people that already knows you, that is working with you every day. it it's completely different when you are trying an interview that the guy on the other side doesn't know you at all. Actually, this guy wants to know you a little more so he can think of hiring you. So it's very very important that you can show your very best, and it includes yourself, your
Yeah.
image, right? So
And again, it's
I remember in just sorry.
no worries, no worries. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying that I remember the older times when we went to the in-person interview. People got his best clothes and get the CV in a good paper, all this,
Printed. Yeah.
yeah,
Cover. Yeah.
printed,
But
all, of course today is completely different, but the personal part is still in place, right?
yeah. One thing you can do is join with your phone. Like if you don't have a camera or if your camera is broken or bad, you can join the same meeting with your phone and mute it or yeah. And again, in some circles, in some companies that may be different, like if you're doing security for as a contractor or a contractor job, then it might be not too relevant. But I think that most, and I think this is more cultural than anything, but the people will want to see your face. Yeah. And it helps because a lot of the communication is non-verbal, so we communicate a lot through hands, gestures, way of speaking, everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
and
Rafael is saying, thanks, I'm gonna buy a camera.
yeah, yeah. Or join with your mobile and take the mess where it's not visible.
Put your best play,
Yeah.
best side.
Or add the virtual background. Perhaps I should do that. Yeah,
Like mine.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, about the other topic in on training. I'm seeing lots of AI training. Like you can try interview with an AI. What do you think about this? Do you think it's effective?
yeah. That's a bit hard. AI is taking a lot of uses in that area, from searching and finding candidates, matchmaking, doing test interviews. I think it's great, but it doesn't replace the human. It's like Duolingo and a
Hmm.
human professor. Like
Mhm.
Duolingo is great, or any app. You're gonna keep up with your English, Spanish, French, wherever you're learning. You're gonna keep the pace and even learn the basics. But the expressions, the way people say things, the way they react, the little phrases and expressions that they use every day, this you only learn from another person. Like it's much more effective, and we are programmed to copy each other very effectively. So I think that's the same with programming. I'm very grateful for the university I had, for the masters and colleagues that I had, because I wouldn't be able to code. Like I wanted to do philosophy. Like I was never good at this. But I had great friends and great teachers who sat down on a computer lab, like 30 of us, and got through the exercises together. I would never have that discipline. So when people say, do you need university? No, absolutely not. Nobody cares. But it's not for them, it's for you. Like the yourself, the things you learn, the people you'll meet, that will make much more difference than the credential that you get in the end, right?
Mhm.
Sorry to bring up a hot topic.
No, but let me ask you about the interviews. Yeah, which interview do you think are the most difficult ones? Like which one your students or your mentees failing the most?
Well, that's interesting because the one they fear the most is not the one they fail the most. The one they get most anxious about is coding, like the whiteboard coding interview. Because when you go to the technical interviews, there are two types, or little problems, like you have to reverse the strings or find the last repeated character or make this robot, and those little hacker hank style challenges. Or you get a little project to do at home, like build this web app that takes a request in this format, replies this, add that to a database, build the Docker files, and deliver us the repo, something like that. So that the whiteboarding interview usually causes a lot of anxiety because writing code in front of other people
Mhm.
is and explaining it in another language is excruciating for most people. But it's something you can practice. It's like going to the gym. The first time is awful. After going every day for a while, you learn to like it somehow. And it's not and I like the gym analogy because it's also on the other side. We Everybody knows it sucks. Like nobody expects that the hacker Hank stupid exercise will match to the things you're going to face on the job. But they have to have a filter. You need to do something. If you're going to hire a clown, you're going to ask for a joke. If you're going to hire a programmer, probably you're going to ask for him or her. So that's what people get really anxious about, but not that's not really hard because I mean, for most opportunities, the problems you get are really elementary. For some companies and more advanced high seniority jobs, then you get the really nasty problems that you have to prepare really hard. But most of the times, they just want to see if you can work with code, if you can reason about code, if you can share and talk about code and make progress, uh, even if not to the full solution, but to part of the solution. Because perhaps you have 100 test cases, you hit 80% or 85%. That's okay. Perhaps you hit 70%. Perhaps you hit 50%. Then you probably are going to get rejected, and you have to ask, say, hey, what happened? And then they're going to explain you failed the test. And it's very important in these tests that you try to be as original as you can. So if you have like a code already in your head, or if you know the solution, don't go typing like I even avoid using regular variable names like I, J, and K, and use any other letter or something this different, just so that it won't match by plagiarism. Because all those platforms, Hacker Hank and all of them, they have detection. If you copy code, you're gonna be caught like 100% of the times, and it's not nice because you get an instant reject without much explanation. So yeah, try to be sincere. And however, the number one reason for people getting rejected, can you know what is? Can you guess? It's lack of English. It's insufficient English communication skills. Like people, uh, in the especially international job opportunities, if you can't tell your story, explain your code, and go through a very clear English conversation, then you're. And most of the times, it's not because they don't like it; it's just because they don't understand it. So it's very important to speak slowly, try to be clear, try to be concise, and try to answer the things people ask. Because in Brazil, it's very cultural that we explain a lot before answering things. So we're not never going to say yes or no. That's rude. You say, that happened, and then this happened, and then because of that, I had a yes or I had a no.
Mm-hmm.
So when the person asks something, a direct question, it's better to answer, think, clarify, and say, hey, is this what you mean? Think a little bit, and then answer clearly, first straight what the person asked, and then the explanation, and if possible, a conclusion coming back to the point. So if the person says, tell me a situation where you demonstrated that you have customer obsession, for example, if that's one of the values of the company. Then you're going to tell a story where you had a conflict of interest, perhaps, and ended up favoring the customer, and that uh, ties back to the question. But in the end, you have to say, that's why I believe this method, this answer this question in that way. Because what I see is a lot of people talking a lot, great stories, but they're not uh, really matching or understandable, and many opportunities are missed on that.
Mm-hmm. So
That's
it's
very
Does that make
interesting.
sense?
important, yeah, to really listen.
There's a tech,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a technique called STAR, and there are variations with other letters, but the one, let me go back a little bit. There's this training called Making Great Hiring Decisions that is sold across America to all corporations, and they use this STAR method because can you think, like, imagine Amazon. Amazon is now 1,600,000 employees. Like, that's a lot of people to hire, and you have to demonstrate to compliance that all of them were fair and unbiased. So, can you believe in the United States 2024 someone be unbiased, like, or anywhere in the world really? It's super difficult, and demonstrating that, it's super hard. So when the person asks, tell me a first, tell me this question. Tell me the situation. Tell me about a story in your career where you demonstrated customer obsession, which is one of the values for Amazon in this case. The other person in the other side is going to try to decode your answer and say, what is the situation that this person was in? What is the task that she was charged with? What was the action that she took? And what was the result? So that's the star. Sometimes they add metrics or other things, but the thing is, you can do this in seconds or in hours. The important thing is that you practice that story. Then, when you're ready to tell it, perhaps you even have it written down or drafted. Like, well, I was in this case where I was the solution architect for Red Hat, and we had a very demanding customer in the government evaluating our business modeling platform, and they had a lot of requirements that weren't met by the platform, needed more time. However, the the organization really needed the sale to close the quota, and I was pressured between the customer and the company in that way, and I ended up vouching for the customer and giving them more time and helping them build a better solution, and had to explain a lot internally, and took the customer case, escalated the customer case, and we got the approval to go further, and ended up the customer bought a lot more. So here, in less than 2 minutes, I told a comprehensible story that demonstrates how I had this situation that was a conflict of interest between the customer and the provider or vendor in the project. The task for me was to build the architecture, the proposed solution, but we had more requirements that we could make in time. The action that I took was to escalate the case and get the resource required for the customer. The result was that the customer ended up buying more. And that's why that's one situation that I believe I got some customer obsession, or that I was customer proactive, or whatever it is. So you have to do your homework and see. So for Amazon, this customer obsession thing is really important. For Red Hat, this open source thing is really important. For Google, don't be evil doesn't mean anything. For whatever company, they're going to have a page with their mission, culture, values. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 14, but your job is to make that story. Like, tell me a situation where it's always the same question. Tell me a story in your career where you demonstrated this value. this specific thing. So before the interview, go there. Where did you do? If it's Red Hat, do you have any open source engagement or involvement? Do you have and the same for the other 4 or 5 items that you see in the list? And this way, it's much easier to do a good, clear, concise communication.
Mm-hmm.
Julia, I have a question for you.
Sure. Yeah.
But first, I want to comment about that, about the importance of English, because the other day I was with Bruno Souza in a Java event, and
Yeah.
someone asked about the language Java and Python, etc. And he asked the people, which language do you think is the most important? And some people, hey, Java, we are in a Java event. And he told, no,
It's
English
English.
is the most
Yeah.
important language in technology field.
It's it's
Yeah.
silly. Yeah. We say it every time, but it's true.
And the question I wanted to make is, you mentioned about anxiety and coding challenges, right? So
Yeah, totally.
do you have uh, some comments about how we can go through the hard parts of the process, the interview process, without these emotional problems? How,
Yeah.
how can we
The first
overcome
thing,
this?
yeah, the first thing is to understand if it's natural or if you need help. Like, because if you're going through a lot, you may need help, and everybody needs therapy. If you can have professional therapy, it's something that's going to be helpful for everybody. So never underestimate the power and the value of true psychological professionals, right? However, the other thing is practice. So say if you don't know how to play the guitar, the first time that you get one in your lap, it's same thing. Like you have to play those chords, get familiar with the thing, get the practice, and hour by hour, you get that thing gets less scary, more familiar, and you do better at it, right? And another thing is, in the same sense I mentioned before, get a friend, someone to share helps a lot, and seeing that nobody really knows this shit, right? Everybody's trying, everybody's doing their best. So make sure you get better every time you try. Then the it's just a matter of trying as frequently as you can. Another thing is building a side project that you own yourself, like your own, if you have a family business or your own personal website or your pet clinic, whatever you want to build, something that's not related to work and that you can practice freely with your colleagues, with your friends, because then it's so much easier, and you can experiment with any technology you'd like, build something on the side, but small projects, things that you can do, uh, things that you think are achievable for your level of seniority, like taking the because it's important to learn a little bit and very fast. Like if every week you learn a little bit, learn something new, try to fix this, fix that, it's a matter of a couple weeks until you fix at least the most important areas and apply for the position you want. So that's the things I'd say. And anxiety is it's hard. Like it's hard to say because there are many sources of anxiety, right? You can be anxious because you think you're not prepared enough, right? Because you saw that the list of requirements is much more than the things you know, or because you need that position, you're running out of money, and or you're in a economically dependent situation and you need to break free. So all of this can pile up on your anxiety. And I can say we had people in the group with abuse. We have a lot of cases where you need to go out because you're being morally, sexually harassed or racially. We had all cases. And so the situation of anxiety can be really light and, oh man, can I do this? To really difficult situations, which needs much more than we can approach, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
But again, positive mind, mental attitude is a great practice. Like try to see it as a learning experience and not as this huge challenge that you have to climb. And one thing that I'd say is the job that you want really, like if there is a job that you really want, don't aim it in the first try. Like take a couple of opportunities to practice, to feel, to try your stories out, see if that works, and be very intentional about this process and try to learn from it and say that way it becomes constructive
Mhm.
and you go reducing your anxiety, or else you just keep spinning. I need it, and one after the other, and you only get yourself more and more anxious. And this professional is a mind game. It's totally mental. So if you're anxious, if you're exhausted, if you're sleepy, you're not going to do a good job. Like you need to be rested, calm, as the the more your mental wellness is developed, the better you are with yourself, the better the interview will be, and after that, the better job you will present for sure.
Mhm.
Because it's it's important to have that notion because some stuff happens in the positive side and on the negative side. I've been through a really difficult separation for this year, for example, or if you lose a relative, or if you have complications in health. Such events can be devastating in your head. So it's just like a soccer player with a broken leg. Like you can't. Better take out 2 weeks, like three, like I did, because I can't work with my fucking leg is broken. And on the other side, if you're doing your exercise, doing your leg day, it's 3 weeks. You've been doing everything nice, eating well, sleeping well. It's got a totally different effect on your mind.
Hey, Julio, and people actually, some people say that the best opportunities appear when you're not looking for it. So if you're
Totally.
practicing, not aiming the dream, the job you're dreaming, maybe practicing other opportunities, better opportunities show up for you, right?
That's so
And
true.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because when there's a lot of business outside Facebook, Amazon, Google, Amazon, right? IBM. There's hundreds and thousands of startups, of smaller companies. Some people like big companies, some people like startups, some people like diverse technologies. Some people really want to work in one stack. Like I had this really interesting case because the guy really, I just want Elixir. That's what I want. Don't care about other jobs. And he really needed the job. He was in a difficult situation, but he was also very. Some people like me, I don't care. I'm a Java guy. I got an Kubernetes opportunity at Red Hat. For me, it's all code, computers. I've been doing this since I was really young. I think my first one was a CP500 from Compaq, a machine that didn't have hard drives or network or anything like that. You remember what was your first computer, everyone?
Yeah, I remember.
Nice.
And my first computer was a 386. It was not that.
Nice.
Yeah, but actually because my it was
Mid 90s.
19,
Yeah.
yeah, 1993 or something. That when I no 1992 or and when my mother bought this computer, he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm buying a computer." I say, "Oh, great! What is a computer? What is this
Yeah.
for?" Computer is not something that we were used to see.
Totally. Totally.
For me, it was the
And
same
yeah.
386, but
And
for a
you,
short time, and then a KC K62 500. Do you know that?
yeah.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
second.
Mhm.
That was Pentium era already. Yeah.
Yeah.
That came
And
after.
you,
Yes.
Chile and Luis. Yeah.
Mhm. But a
Yeah.
lot of people are anxious if they are thinking about the whole interview process because you have got so many rounds, one after the other.
Yeah.
Meeting
True.
HR people, then technical interview, one, two, three, system design. How do you cope with the whole process? Because it can take months, I guess, or half a year, maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And one thing is prepare, like having those stories, like, and know that the process, the bigger the company, the bigger the process.
Mhm.
Like if it's a startup, a small company, probably you're going to get at least three calls, at least one phone screening, which the HR people is going to see uh, if you match, if the company values, ideas, if you're basically fit for the position. But humanly, and I'm not, and broad technically, like are you Java or Python or Microsoft or whatever is the stack that you work on? And then you move to a conversation with your peers and managers, with your technical team. And then you're going to know, let's go deeper. Is this Spring or Quarkus? It's totally useless to ask this kind of thing to the HR person. Like, don't try to know what libraries and frameworks you're going to be working with in the first call. Not usable. So if you and get ready to be comfortable introducing yourself. So how do you introduce yourself? So usually say, hey, I'm this name, I'm from that place, what I do is this, and my experience is in that area, and I like to play the guitar, and add something personal and make that a habit. And even in your personal life, it's very common that we do not introduce ourselves often enough. So this is a good thing to practice anyway. And go out there, apply for the positions. I feel a lot of candidates are intimidated by the apply button because they see that really long list of requirements that nobody matches, and they know that nobody has all those requirements, nobody knows all that stuff, but they want to see of all that, how do you cover those things, in which of those areas are you good or bad, how you match the position, and then they're going to have your profile. But for no reason in the world, you should not click the apply button. Like I see another one very common is, well, this is a senior position, or this is a staff, and I'm not there yet. I'm not ready. So the what seniority means for each company is different, and it only means inside that company. So nobody is absolutely junior or senior. It doesn't mean anything. This is a characteristic not of the person but of the position. So nobody is actually senior. The position is senior, and you're applying to that. And in that company, that means something. Some companies noticing that just don't even have names for the levels. They just put numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, like Amazon, for example, or they just inflate the jobs. So there's no junior, everybody's principal, and then there's staff and distinguished and whatever other names. So it doesn't really mean anything. So if it doesn't mean anything, you're gonna, am I a junior? Am I a senior? Am I ready for this? Just if you think you match, if you think you have a chance, apply and let them classify you. It's their job to say if you're at the required seniority level for the position or not. Make sense?
Yes,
Makes
that's a good
total
approach.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes total sense. And this is it's very very important that you say that you no need to fear the apply button. Something that I
Yeah.
always say to my mentees that when
Oops.
Oh, Pedro has
Oh no.
some
Yeah.
connection
And
problem.
another thing, while Pedro comes back, another thing I'd like to mention, still regarding the anxiety in the process, is trying to ask, if you're not told, try to ask how long is it going to take, because sometimes the process between one call and another can take weeks or even months. So for big companies, it's not unusual to take weeks. Some are fast and take days, but some call you back after a long, long time. So
Mhm.
try to prepare for that. So you're
yeah,
saying that among your
yeah,
mentees,
I was saying that it's an it when we are not applying for position that came to us, like someone referred it. When we are applying blindly, we need to apply like a bunch of them to get some interviews, right? So how do you suggest to your mentees to say when they are in this moment they are trying to get interviews? What is the best advice to get interviews?
yeah, I usually make this exercise to build a pipeline with them. So first, go through LinkedIn and take your search. So if you're try to find what kind of role, so you can be looking for data science, software engineering, solutions architect, DevOps, stacks, areas. Build like a couple searches, like 5 searches. Start doing it and build a pipeline of, I usually say, 15 to 20 opportunities that you think might work for you. So without a lot of, so this might be good, this might be good, and then select from that like 3 to 5 that you see, oh, those are hot. I could see myself working on that place. That's a position I really would consider. And then go through the pipeline, and the order depends on your strategy. So you have to be really smart in this moment, because again, some people are in a really difficult situation and need that job right now. So you're going to apply for the one that you have the most probability of getting in, the one that matches most your skill set, for example. Or if you already have a job and you're good, but you are looking for something better, it's a completely different strategy. So you can say, hey, I'm going to apply for company number 1 and 2 to practice a little bit, but I'm going to save, let's say I want to work for Red Hat. I'm going to save Red Hat a little bit and then apply to, to Red Hat. And again, balance your levels. Perhaps you're going to be really on those first opportunities, rise up if they're not the thing you want, or raise down your requirements, your expectations, and try to match that you really want. And some people are really well in their careers. Myself, for example, I even have a line on my LinkedIn that I'm not interested in new engineering opportunities. If you have a CEO position, if you have really good stuff, I may apply for the process, but it's not going to be one per 2 months. It's going to be one per year or something like that. Because I can give myself the luxury of being comfortable and searching for something that's really hot, or just keep on it. So you have to match. But anyway, that's the order you're going through the pipeline, or how fast you're going through the pipeline. The key thing is building that pipeline, and every couple months, or update it, or every, if you're faster, update it every week. If you're slower, update it every year. But that helps, especially with two things. First, the efficiency of the process and being smart about it and maximizing your chances of winning. But also, the number one effect that I see of this technique is when people fail the process. And instead of going back to LinkedIn and doing that search again after you got rejected, it's bad and you feel bad about yourself. If you say the next opportunity is this, apply, it's 5 seconds. It's easier on your expectations. So don't you have to believe in yourself and apply and do present your best, but you also have to be aware that a lot of things can go wrong in a hiring process. The they can find an internal candidate that was already matched for the position. They can close the position because there's no longer funds. They can relocate the position. They can change the seniority level. The interviewer might have a crappy day, didn't like your face, and gave you a crappy feedback. A lot of stuff can happen that's totally outside your control. You can do a brilliant interview, code perfectly, communicate with bright English, know everything about security and performance. In the end, things fail. And at that time, if instead of suffering, you have the medicine already set, you already know that, well, if I fail, I'm going to take the next one and apply and follow the same process we've been discussing. This is so much easier. Karina Varela, thank you for being here with us today. Great to see you. If anybody has any further questions. Oh, and finally, the last call in the process as we were going through the phone screening, HR calls, usually 1 or 2, then technical interviews, management interviews, and finally there's negotiating the offer. If you get an offer, it's cultural. Some people are afraid of negotiating, some people don't like negotiating, but you should, even if it's not on the money, because on the money you already talked about it. So when the process starts, the person is going to ask how much you want to make. You probably have to answer a range. So I want to make from X to Y $1,000 per year, usually, or per month. It's in Brazil, and that's already kind of negotiated. But you have benefits, uh, shares, stock, men, health insurance, travel privileges, company car, whatever. There's like vacations and extra days, whatever support. There's companies. Some companies give. I don't know. X Team has like a money bonus that you get. Google has restaurants and rooms. So look for negotiate on the things that you can, and if you can, try to talk with people inside the company, and during the interviews also. One very important thing we didn't say in those interviews, the final question is very important. The person is going to ask you if you have any question for them. So have a few questions prepared to make them. So do the ones that will make them cry, like how is your performance measured? How do you get a promotion? How does people get a promotion? How many meetings you do a week? Whatever you want to learn. But because if you know, for example, that uh, at Red Hat it's a company where you have long seniority levels. So there's not many levels, but and you take a lot of time to go through them and get uh, steps. So you're probably gonna ask for a higher step if you believe you deserve it when you get into the negotiation of the offer. If you're in a company that moves really fast, like Amazon, where you can basically do yearly jumps, it's not a big problem if you get in a lower rank and move fast. So it's a good idea to ask those questions so you'll be able to negotiate better if you get to the offer. Make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Yeah.
Yes.
And
Karina has got a lot of comments.
yeah,
Can show
yeah,
it.
she thinks the
Yes.
biggest challenge when we propose and get a confirmation on some prerequisites or expectations the company commits with potential hire, but after then management change and that's all gone away. And I can see that a lot because that's the hardest situation I had in my career. That's why I left Amazon. Karina, you nailed it as usual. It's really hard because sometimes management changes. You had someone who was your friend who supported you, and now it's just this random corporate guy that doesn't give a shit about you. So it happens, or the other way around. But the style, the everything changes when management changes, and yeah, I took an MBA course just to learn how to talk with just to talk management language and understand the management world. So it is really hard. The things that I believe there, and I think that no, you should not trust these types of commitment. You should write it down and get an agreement. So you probably have at Red Hat, we have this document called engineering competencies or whatever competencies, which is a matrix level and requirement. So if say one requirement is impact. So if you are a senior engineer, if you're beginner engineer or journeyman engineer or junior engineer, you're probably expected to make some impact in your team. If you're a senior staff engineer, you're probably expected to make impact in other teams. If you're a top distinguished level 11, whatever engineer, you're probably expected to make an impact in the whole company. So what this means is defined in this document. So this is the current level, this is the next level, this is the expectation from this area, this is an expectation to the next area. And with that document, you invert it. And every ticket I close at work or everything I do, I add to a bragging document, which is a separate document where we're going to say, hey, here's what I did for this customer and that customer, and this is why I believe I'm reaching a better impact or learning more or whatever is that you're in your list of competencies. However, some companies don't have this list of competencies and or a career plan, but you can always make that agreement with your manager directly. So take this and say, hey, here's the current level of my current expectations and the things that I do. This is the next level. And here's why I believe that I'm in the current level for this requirement, on the next level for this requirement. And it's a bit of a boring style, but if you do that every other one-on-one, the person is going to know and is going to keep. So when it gets the time to make an ask for a promotion, you already have that document. It was already seen like 10 times. It's going to be much easier to share that and to justificate your your raise or your promotion, because this is like written down, pass it over and over and committed, because this is when you go to this process, you're going to probably have to demonstrate your competencies to people that are not within your circle. So not only your manager, because he already knows that for months, but his managers, your grandpa manager and your uncle managers are going to probably influence on the decision. So your manager is going to try to convince his manager and peers that you deserve that promotion, and that's uh, only possible with clear, written, negotiated communication. Right? Yeah, and because one thing I say is trust. Trust is something that don't exist usually. To be honest, companies understand processes and negotiations. So here's you can. Sorry to say this, it may sound a bit crude, but it is very important to learn to negotiate. And some companies only understand very pressing forms of negotiation. Like at Amazon, it was really hard. At other companies, like at Red Hat, it's not that hard, but you have to learn it at some level. You know, say, hey, a very simple one. Hey, I have a better opportunity from this other company. Can you cover? Or else I'm taking the other. But if you give me that other thing that I want, for example, for myself, I don't care so much about the financial compensation, but I live in the middle of the woods here. Outside there's only trees. The closest city has 900 people. It's I had to bike 30 miles today to get to the mechanic. So it's there's no way I can get to an office basically. So unless I move home, so I have to work in a. For me, having that accepted and welcome from Red Hat, not only that, but all my peers are remote, so nobody is excluded or nobody makes no difference if the person will go to the office or not. So this is more valuable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
finding what is valuable for you, put on the table, negotiate it. And I'm sorry, but sometimes you have to be really, really hard and prepare yourself to be really, really hard. So you have to say, not hard, but clear. So, hey, I have this offer of this much from, you don't need to disclose if you don't want the company, of course, but you have to state your terms. So here's what I need. Here's what I want. Because I see a lot of people withholding negotiation because if you show your hand, you kind of lose power. So I'm not gonna say how much I want to make because then they can adjust, and this doesn't happen. The unless it's a really small and shitty company. Most companies, the HR person will have a range. He can hire you from X to Y, from 40 to 50,000, and that's it. He's gonna do his best for you probably and try to see where you fit on the scale, and that's it. So if you the best thing you can do is say as fast as possible if you're in this range or if you're out, if your ranges match or not. So if you're looking for an 90 to 100 and the person offers you 40 to 50, that's no conversation. Sorry, bye. Each of us go for the instead of going through the process, doing interviews just to find out that you're completely out of range and doesn't make any sense for the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the goal is to fail as fast as you can. So the one that you'll succeed comes at comes faster. So they say that when you're writing, for example, you can say that you have 900 bad poems before you write the good one. So you have to take out all the ink until you get to the good one, and that's a bit of it as well in tech. You have to sometimes crash the opportunities as fast as you can, say goodbye, no hard feelings, move to the next, because when you find your match, it's it's clear. Because and again, be clear about your requirements. I want to make this much money. I want to live in this place. I want to go to the office 0 times a week. I want this kind. I need insurance. I need a company car. Whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want.
Hey, about starting and maintaining a bragging document. I
Yeah, that's an
recently,
important thing. Mm.
yeah, this is a great advice because recently I had to write a document for a promotion, and I had to remember things from 3 years ago. So if I
Oof.
had a bragging document, it was
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
would be
that's
really easier.
so often the case
Yeah.
because not only you don't. It's very hard. You don't remember. I don't remember what I did last week. And we are usually too humble about our achievements. It's water under the bridge, man. Let go. But if for everything you achieve, you add it to a document and review it and show it to people, it's much easier and better written, easy, because it's hard to get it in a single 3 year period and find what did I do from 2001 to now? What happened after COVID? I don't know.
Yes. So those are really very good advice. So today I learned a lot from you, Julio. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chilan. Thank you. Thank you,
And
Luis, Pedro. Amazing to be here with you.
the
Let's do
last,
this more often. Yeah.
oh yes, for sure. Last question: do you have any links, or can you share us with any links if people are interested to contact you,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you have any
totally.
content how to reach you?
Totally. On Fireman J, like at Fireman J or firemanj.com, just like the alias.com, you will find me the courses that I do, the mentorship groups, the
Mm-hmm.
contact information, Instagram, YouTube, buy me a coffee. All the links are there. Right now, I'm working on a new content series for people seeking economical independence is my focus. So in the past, I've been doing a lot of Java, Kubernetes, and more technically profound groups. But I want to work a little bit with people that are in dependency from their partners, families, whatever the situation is, trying to get those first jobs, like build a website, build a simple app, start making some money, get your face out there. This is the Thank you guys for putting the link there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and because I think that can help a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it's not that hard, as hard as it sounds. I think tech can be a great way to build a business, a career, as we said. And I'm doing this in kind of two ways. One from the low code, no code side, doing using tools like Google Docs and Squarespace and site builders in general, and complementing with JavaScript, some code, starting to build apps till we get to Java and the more in-depth solutions. But the idea is to help people get their independence through tech jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
And also in the website, you're gonna find an ebook. The ebook is a summary of the practices that we have for each pillar. So the health and balance, the programming and algorithms, architecture and design, communication and behavior. We have a little bit of advice, a couple pages for each of those areas, and also a link for a special session with me. So if you want to talk more, if I can help you if your next opportunity, reach out. We can book a session and work together.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thanks so
Thank
much,
you.
Leo.
Thank you,
And
Sheila. Thank you.
last words, Luis. Oh, Pedro
Yeah, I
last.
just wanna thank again. A big thanks to Julio that for accepting to be here talking with us, and this is a really great theme for us, a great subject, and you really brought some excellent insights. I learned a lot. Thank you
Thank
again.
you. It was a nice session. Great. We talked about some things here that I rarely have the opportunity to discuss and not so openly. So thank you, my friends.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Pedro, any parting words?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Julio. It's been amazing. I think we still have lots of
Yeah.
questions about that. Probably more
Let's do this again. Yeah,
specific questions about negotiation. Especially we just scratched the surface. So I think
totally.
it's something
Mm-hmm.
we
Totally.
could go back in the next session for sure.
Yeah, we could
Thank you so
dive
much.
down in. No worries. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to be here. All of those things we said today, we could do sessions about the star technique, about programming and algorithms, about architecture and design.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or specific scenarios like promotions are very different than new hires. And yeah,
Hmm.
we kind of bundled much of this together, but those strategies that we mentioned are also very different. So a lot of stuff for the next conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Sure.
for sure. So let's do it again. Thank you, Julio, Luis,
See ya.
Pedro. And of course, our audience, thank you very much
Thank
for
you, everyone.
joining us today. So, see you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you, everybody.